Hey, what's going on, everybody? Bauer Brown here. Welcome back to the next video in our tutorial series. In this video, we are going to be learning about info channels. Okay, and you might be saying info what? All right, info channels. What are they? How do they work? And why should you even care? Okay, so now if you've been working with maps for a while, if you've been trying to even if you haven't been working with them for a while, you're just starting out and you've been goofing around, you either ended up on your foliage channels here. Like if you look over on the right hand side of my screen, you can see I have deco foliage picked and we have the foliage channels, or one box down or one section down, you have the info layer painting, and that also has info channels. All right, so what are they? And what difference do they even make? You know, it's just a bunch of check boxes, right? Okay, well, each one of these, and I'm going to try to explain this in as simply as I possibly can without the aid of, fancy spreadsheets or graphics or, visual presentations, all that stuff. All right, so each one of these channels, or each one of these checkboxes, I should say, has a value. Okay, so the trick here is, what is that value and where do we get it from? Is it a specific value? What does it refer to? What is that value? Okay, so let's just stop there and remember that each one of these checkboxes has a value. All right, now to understand a little bit about what that value is and where we get that value from, it helps to know a little bit about color depth, about bit color depth. All right, so if you Google that, let's go like Google bit color depth, right? And you should come up with maybe a Wikipedia page like this right here. It says color depth. Okay, look a little bit lower, and we can see that we have 1-bit color, 2-bit color, 3, 4, right on down the line. Okay, so let's scroll down a little bit here. All right, now you can see that 1-bit color is not equal to, but it's capable of 2 colors. 2-bit color scheme is capable of 4 colors. 3-bit is capable of 8 colors. And there you go, right down the line. Now, did you notice a little bit of a pattern there? Okay, if you notice that we got, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, everything is doubling as we go. Well, that's kind of the way that bits work, right? All right, so if you can visualize a 0-bit, like a 0-bit color, since everything's doubling, that would be capable of 1 color. So 0 bits, 1 color, 1 bit, 2, 4, 6, or not 6, 8, doubles as it goes. All right, so that's the way that color schemes work. All right, now you're probably asking yourself, okay, color scheme, so what in the world does that have to do with check boxes? Why would you even care? Why would you care that, one bit, color scheme is capable of 2 colors? Why does that matter? Doesn't make a difference. We're talking about check boxes here, right? Okay, we are, but let's put that into a different perspective. Okay, let's go up to your info layer and on your farmlands. All right, remember all these colors, all these beautiful, beautiful colors that we have? All right, this info layer, okay, when you save this file, it is written to an image file, basically like a bitmap. Sometimes you hear guys saying it needs to be an 8-bit PNG. Well, the hell's an 8-bit? What does that even matter? What is it? What is 8-bit? Well, an 8-bit color scheme, is capable of 256 colors. So if you go back here and you look at 8-bit color, and it's got 256 colors. All right, so jumping back into the editor. All right, so each one of these farmlands here, right? Each one of them is a separate color, and each separate color corresponds to its own individual farmland. Okay, so on a standard map, you can go up to 63 available farmlands. All right, so you have 63 available, which means you have 63 separate colors, right? Makes sense. Okay, well, where does that 63 come from? Well, that 63, it comes from the bits, from the bit color depth that we were just looking at. Now, if you look here at 5-bit, if there was a 6-bit there, that would say 64. Okay, so wouldn't that make sense then if we had 63 available farmlands, then a 6-bit color scheme should pretty much cover that, right? Since 6-bit would be 64 colors, and we have 63, so that would kind of go hand in hand. Well, it does. That's exactly what goes on here. If you look at each one of these checkboxes and you think of that as a bit, just like we have on that other screen, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right on down the line. And that's the way you need to think about that. Okay, I got my VPN going crazy on me over there. Alrighty, but that's the way that you need to think about that. That each one of these bit color depths are capable of a certain amount of colors, and that's exactly what this is. It's 0 would be one color. Man, I thought I got rid of that for tonight. 0 would be capable of 0 bits would be capable of one color. A 1 bit would be capable of 2 colors, 2 bits, 4 colors, 3 bits would be capable of 8 colors. That's exactly what that is. Now the channels are no different. Now this here is 8 channels. Now it includes 0. It stops at 7, but we included 0, so that equals 8. So we got 2, 4, 6, 8. Right, and we know that 8-bit is capable of 256 colors. Right. So if I was to add up each one of these individual boxes all together, and we can do that really quick. We can start at, now we know that 7 bits is equal to 128, right? But if we do the math on each one of these checkboxes, because now we know their values, and that value never changes, because that's what that is. That's a bit, right? So we know, it never ever changes. It's a steady, permanent value. That 0 equals 1, 1 equals 2, 2 equals 4, 3 equals 8. So basically that's the cipher. Basically that's our key there to deciphering this whole thing, right? Okay, so if we know that 7 is equal to 128, right? So we add that to the next one down, which would be 64. We add that to 32. We add that to 16. We add 8. We add 4, 2, 1. We get 255 fields, right? So we have 8 channels, which is basically 8 bits in a manner of speaking. It's not, but it gives us the availability of 8 bits. And since we know that an 8-bit color scheme is capable of 256 colors, when we add all of these up, that's where that 255 comes from. So we have, it's not quite 256, it's one less because we have to, add everything up there, and it only gives us 255 possible combinations. But that's what color has to do with everything. That's where it all ties in together. All right. So like I said, when you save this, what you're looking at right here, when it saves it to that info layer, that Farmland's info layer, that's exactly what it's doing. It's saving the visual representation, colors. Just what you see here is basically what it's saving. It's corresponding each color to a farmland. Right, so if you have an 8-bit PNG, it's capable of 256 colors. You can go up to 256 or 255 farmlands. And if you look here, you can see on my Farmlands XML, this comes from a standard size map, right? So at 6 channels, we know that 6 bits equals I drew a blank there. What did it equal? All right, so we know that it's equal to 64. I'm sorry, I completely drew a blank on that one. So we know that it's equal to 64, right? So 6 bits is capable of 64 colors. Now, like I said, it's usually one less because when you add up all of the separate channels or the separate bits, it usually comes out to one less than its total capability. So 256, 8-bit is capable of 256 colors, but basically only 255 farmlands. And the same thing here, 6-bit is capable of 64 colors, but would give you 63 farmlands that were available. All right. So on the standard size map, that's exactly what you got going on here. This would be equal or capable of 63 individual, and you can see it stops at 62, so you get pretty darn close. 63 would actually be the non-sellable land, and that's kind of the way that works. Usually the last one in the list, right? That's the land that you can't buy or sell. So you can see that they have 62 fields here. 63 would probably be the purple color that you see there when you look at our list there. That purple color is probably 63. Now, when I click on it, you can see that each one of these checkboxes is lit up, right? well, this here, you got to excuse me, because this map here, this is an 8 channel, right? But we're only looking at a 6 channel here on this one. But it would be the same thing. You know, if you were to check every one of those boxes, it would total 63. That, you know, that's as high as you can go when you add them all up. And the same thing here, because this is basically an 8-bit, or I got 8 channels, and altogether this would equal 255. So basically the last one on the list is your non-sellable property. Okay. But that's how the colors tie into that. You know, like I said, it's a standard. It never ever changes. Those numbers are identical. They are not identical. They're the solid number, never changes. If you're ever confused and you can't remember, you can always look that up. Now, color schemes and bit depths and all that other stuff aside, an easy way to remember this is 0 being the first one in the list, and it always goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. It never goes out of order. It's always 1, 2, 3. It's never 0, 2, 6, nothing like that. 0 being the first one. Since it's the first one, give it a value of 1 and just double as you go. You know, go 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, 512, and just keep on going. It's that easy. You don't have to remember anything about those, you know, bit depths and colors, but it's nice to know how that ties in. You know, why do colors have anything to do, you know, with these bits and these channels and stuff like this? And the channels is really no different, right? So if you want 8 bits, I mean, you do have 8 channels here, right? So you got 2, 4, 6, 8 channels. Now that we know that 8 bits is equal to 256 colors, or capable of 256 colors. Now, even though you would select, let's get rid of some of these here. I'm going to uncheck them. So even though when you click on number 7, that should light up 128. Now that, like I said, that's not as high as we can go, because if you click the rest of the boxes, you're basically adding them all up. So when you add them all up, they will come out to 255, right? So all of your channels work the same way, or not all of your channels. Your farmlands.xml, your this map height types right here, right? As far as your fill types, you can see that the number of channels we have on there are 6. So as 6-bit would equal what? 64. Okay, so we would have the capability of displaying 63 different fill types here. Right now, we don't have that many, but we have the capability to go that high, you know, if we needed to. And if for some reason you were running a super map or a super farm with even more fill types, you could bump that up to 7, and you could have up to 128 different fill types. All right, so that's how you actually increase the number of farmlands or fields that are available on your map. Just change this number of channels. You're just telling it, instead of a 6-bit, you know, we want to go to a 7-bit, or we want to go to an 8-bit. So we want to increase the number of colors that are available to us. And since each field is its own color, you know, each farmland is its own color, or each different fill type basically is its own color, you know, when it writes that information to that image file, then it gives us, you know, when we increase the number of available colors, we increase the number of available farmlands. So you would increase this here, and I think you have to go into the map.xml, and you have to change like maybe one place in there. You need to change the number in there as well. So it's not just this number, but it is basically that easy. You know, you restart everything, and there you go. You have more fields available to you, or more farmlands, or whatever you happen to be working on. So like I said, I really just want to dumb that down for you as simply as I can, and not make it too complicated. And sometimes I feel like the more I talk, the more I'm complicating things. And it's probably true more often than it's not. Okay? So like I said, just throw everything else out the window. Start at 0. 0 is equal to 1. 1 is equal to 2. And then 4, 8, 16. You can remember that. I'm sure that you can remember that. You know, if you can't, you can write it down somewhere. You know, it's really that easy. And if you want to be able to explain it to somebody else, then you can get into, like, you know, color depth and, you know, how many bits are capable of how many different colors. But, you know, in a nutshell, that's what this is. These are basically bits, right? So if it didn't make any sense to you before, it should at least make a little bit more sense now, right? So that's how the colors and everything else come into play. In the beginning, when I did this, man, I made it way too complicated. I thought it was some kind of, just mysterious alien language that I was basically the only one that didn't know. I had struggled with it. I found cheat sheets online that said, like 0, 1, and 2 equals this number, and 0, 1, and 3 equals this number. Man, these things were pages long, but I needed it because I had no clue what these numbers were or where you were getting these numbers from. And if you ever want to test your knowledge, you can, right? So let's say you want to pick, and you're going to need this sometimes. So let's say like when you go up to the foliage channels up here, right? And you're going to work with those, the terrain detail height. You don't have that second drop down box where you can work with. You need to know what these bits, what their values are. All right. So test yourself, say you want to pick farmland number 10. Okay. So we know we got 1, 2, 4. All right, we got 8, so we'll use the 8 because we need that, and an 8 and 2, so we know that 1 equals 2. There you go. You got farmland number 10. So it's a good way to test yourself. All right, so how about 5? What would you use for 5? Well, we would use the 2 and the 0 because we know their values. Once you know the values of these boxes, the mystery's gone. Mystery solved. It's that easy, folks. It really is. That's as difficult as it's ever going to get. It's never going to get harder than that. And it is simple. It really is that simple, right? So now when you start working with terrain detail height, okay, so you go over here and you look at your map height types. Right, so now we want to work with, let's pick one way down the list right here. So pig food. All right, so let's go all the way down. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. All right, so now we want to get 24. All right, so we know that we have, let's erase these here. All right, so we got, what do we got? We got 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32. Okay, so that's too high. So we'll use the 16. And let's say we know that 2 is equal to 4 colors. So we'll use that. And what did I say it was? 24? Am I wrong on that one? Let's go back here. Let's do that. Sorry about that. I couldn't remember the number. All right. So anyhow, you see what I did there though, right? So all you're basically doing, and you probably did this in math class, when you're in like 6th grade or 7th grade, trying to decipher numbers and all that stuff. Same thing, what numbers add up to this, 24, what numbers adds up to equal 24? And that's what it is. I didn't need to refer to a cheat sheet or anything. And why didn't I? Because I know what these values are, right? And now so do you. It's that easy. Now you can go and impress all your friends or girlfriends, and I'm sure your girlfriend would be super interested to know all this stuff. I'm positive of that, right? And meanwhile, while you spend the rest of your life lonely working on your map. But either way, doesn't matter because now you know what those check boxes are, or you know what the values are, okay? And like I said, just one more time, that's where you get that value from. That's why colors correspond to these boxes here, right? Because everything is saved to an image file. All those info layers that you see there that are saved in your data folder, when we start converting those later, we're going to convert them to a PNG, and that's all it is. It's a color file. It's an image file. It needs to know how many colors it's working with. That's it. That's all there is to it. So like I said, I'm going to cut it short because like I said, the more I keep talking, the more I complicate things, and I just don't want to do that. Like I said, hopefully I explained the channels well enough. The channels are basically just allowing it, like I said, it's letting you know how many bits you have available. So, and you can think of them as one and the same, they're not, but you think of 8 channels is basically the equivalent of 8 bits. Even though it's only going to go from 0 to 7, it's still the equivalent of an 8-bit. It's going to add up to 255, total whatever farmlands or whatever you happen to be working with. Okay, so hopefully I didn't confuse anybody on this one. I know I have a habit of doing that sometimes. But like I said, guys, that's really as hard as it gets, and it is not hard. You know, like I said, if you don't want to, you don't have to remember anything about bits or colors or anything else. You just simply need to start at 1 with these boxes, these check boxes. Start at 1 and double as you go up. And as long as you can do that, you will always know the value of those check boxes. Like I said, I just figured I'd give you a little bit more history and kind of the meaning behind all of them and what it has to do with colors and stuff. So I really hope that made sense to you. I hope that was a decent lesson, and kind of feel like I might have butchered that one a little bit, but yeah, that's okay. You know, if I did, we can always come back to it later at another time, go over it again, right? So anyhow, with that being said, I am Bauer Brown, and I will see you on the next one.